Hello, my name is Kashaf, and for my exhibition of wonder, I'm going to show you how you can survive if you're going kayaking and something goes wrong and now you're stuck in the woods.
So hold on.
I'm getting wet. And then now?
Yeah.
In the storm, I flipped my kayak and it got wrecked and I had to leave it over there. Now I have to spend a couple nights here in the wilderness. From my kayak, I was able to salvage my gear, which consists of a tarp, a hatchet, and a dry bed. Inside my dry bag, I keep my rain gear. I want to keep it dry, so I can just put it off to the side. This is all the emergency equipment I had in my backpack. I'll go through each item. In my bag, I have an emergency blanket. It could be used if you're cold at night, or you can cover the front entrance of your shelter. And if you don't have a tarp, you can use that as your shelter. Life straw filters water to make it clean. Knife, you can use it to make sticks for a snare. Spare knife just in case this one breaks, and a flint to start a fire. I also have a first aid kit, bandages in case you get hurt, matches to start a fire in a waterproof sealed case, and a whistle if you see someone or see a bear you can scare them, or if it's a person you can call them over in an emergency situation. I have a flashlight for night use to maybe fix your shelter or make it if it's nighttime. Binoculars can be used to spot food or spot people, or if you see a logging road across the lake you were at, or just in the woods somewhere, that could be useful. Also, if it's really sunny out, you can face it to wood and you could try and catch it on fire with the lens. I also have hooks to try and catch fish if I were to put it on twine or some kind of rope. The twine could also be used to help your shelter hold it in the air. It could be used for the snare also. I have a compass to make sure you know which way they're going. Walkie-talkie to call people if you're lost and you can talk to people. I also have a hatchet to help chop wood easier for fire, or if you're making a snare, that could be really useful. And in my bag I had a tarp for the shelter and a slingshot. This could be used for normally you wouldn't have a slingshot, but I had one. It could be very useful for this kind of situation if you saw food. Now that you're dry and you have your warm clothes on, you can worry about shelter. If it was colder out, I would build a fire first because it's more important to stay warm, because you'd probably die without it. But because it's spring here, I can worry about building the shelter first. I'm going to now build my shelter. With me, I had a twine, a tarp, and my knife. So I'm going to take my tarp, and first you're going to find 2 trees that are somewhat able to fit your tarp. I'm going to lay out my tarp. Lie it down, and then find out where you're going to tie it to the trees. My tarp already comes with rings there and there. It just basically makes it easier to tie it from one end to the trees to hold it up while you're sleeping in it. So an important thing when putting in the pegs is you don't want to have it sticking this way or straight up and down because it could just eventually pop out in the middle of the night. You want to face the peg towards you, so it's very hard to pull out from wind or something. And then you can just adjust it to however you like. You also want to have this near the ground so heat stays in instead of escaping through those little holes. Now that you're done your shelter, I brought with me an emergency survival blanket. If you want, you can use it to cover the sides to stop heat from escaping, or you can use your bags to cover here to stop heat, or like there's leaves everywhere, you can use those. If it's cold, you'd normally use this to put over yourself so you can stay warm. But if it's in the summer, May, it's usually like there's a lot of bugs on the ground normally, so you can just cover the ground with it and then use, like I said, ferns or your bags to cover this to stop heat from escaping. Now that you have your shelter in place and it's all blocked off and you have your blanket set up, you can now try and make a fire. If it, like I said, if it was colder out, you normally make a fire first, but because it's warm here, you want to get firewood after the shelter because it's not that ideal as a shelter. For firewood, you usually want to look under trees. Is usually the driest spot. Like under here, there's these. Moss is really good to start fires with. It's like paper if you don't have it. It burns really easily. So these are dried. You can tell because it'll be wet if it's not dry. You can put a fire. You can put it like in the front of your camp if it's cold out to keep it warm. Or if it's warm out, you can just put it here. Just don't put it near live trees or you can start a forest fire. To take these branches off, they're usually the ones with moss on them are almost dead or they're near death. So you can just bend it and it snaps really easily. This one's a bit alive still. There. Now you have firewood. You can also get wood from here. As I was walking down this trail looking for food, right by my campsite, I found these berries. They're called salmon berries. They're actually edible. You can, they look red. If they're really red, they're ripe. Also, you can lightly pull them, and if they come off, they're good to eat. They're sweet if they're ripe. They come in red, orange, and if they're really, really ripe, they'll look a bit black. The really juicy ones look like red like that, like really dark. Well, also the thing with salmon berries, even these orange ones can be really ripe. It just depends on where the plant is. I was walking down the trail looking for some food, like the salmon berries I talked about, and I found this slug. You can also eat slugs and snails, or grubs, and like they're a great source of protein. If you're that desperate, I suggest cooking it first, like somewhat over a fire, so you don't get sick. One way of getting food is building a snare. A snare consists of, this is what's called a stake. You peg it into the ground. It's like a foot long. You take a knife or your hatchet and cut into here and put a little notch. This also has a notch. It connects here. It has a string attached to a tree bent over, and this wire here, it looks like this. You'll have it here and it'll be tied up to this piece of wood. So if something runs through it, it starts tightening, and then this will fly off and shoot the tree up. Now that my snare is set up, including this part, and I have my wire on, I'm just going to go ahead and take some grass that I picked from the ground and just basically cover some of the snare and the extra wire behind it so the animals don't get scared. Try not to get hit in the face with the snare. There, I just have to cover this part. And then the animals, oh yeah, these logs here, right in between where the snare is. It causes the animals to go into the snare instead of going around it if it was in an open area. Every day, if you're stuck there for a long time and you check your snares, you should check it every day because you might get something alive or dead. Some sort of food. Stuffed animals were harmed during filming. Now that I've set up my shelter and fire, I can now try fishing. In my bag I had some rooster tail, flatfish, and 2 hooks. The hooks you can put on, like I have found berries. Fish, trout in BC usually go after bright colors or stuff that they could smell, so I'm going to try putting this on a single hook. I took a log and I put fishing line on it that I already had with a hook. I found a salmon berry in one of these plants, put it on the hook, and then took the log, put twine on it, and pulled out a bunch of it here. Then you would just basically, because the log floats, throw it in the water, and then let it float there, and then if a fish grabs it, you can pull it in. Now that I threw my log into the water for fishing, I can just tie the twine to a log. Spikes them. It's fast moving, so I don't need to use my life strap. I can just put my water bottle up to it and fill it. And it's really cold water. Now that I've built my shelter, I can go look for firewood while it's still bright out. I found my firewood. I built my fire pit with rocks surrounding so it doesn't spread and cause a forest fire. I'm going to start my fire with this small branches. They're dry and they're really flammable. Then next I'd put some medium branches, then some bit bigger ones when the fire gets going. And these can be used as lots of fuel. If you see a plane or hear a helicopter, or even just people on ATVs or like dirt bikes, you can use this as a signal because it creates a lot of smoke. and it can get their attention. I'm going to try and use my flint first that I brought with me, and then I'll use matches after because they're easier. Where I also built the fire, I found another hatchet. You can always, if you find like tools on when you're camping or lost, you can use these if they're still sharp enough. I'm gonna try and light the fire using my flint. So this silver stuff is what's called magnesium. It's really flammable, and what you want to do is it comes with a little saw thing. You can push it against the wood. That I took the dry stuff I could find. I made a little pocket, and then you basically push down and scrape all this magnesium into the little pocket that you made. And then you can take a knife because it's a bit better. Use the back side of it, and then you can try and I tried the flint and it didn't work, and it's starting to get dark now, so I'll just use my matches instead to get it going fast. Now that the fire's going a little bit, you can start adding medium-sized sticks by just grabbing bigger branches and breaking them. Normally, dead sticks would look better, and they have to be dry, or else it could put out your fire if they're still wet. This one's still alive. This one's dry. If you caught any food from the snare you made, or just if you found like I said, if you found a dead squirrel, that's great. Dead rabbit. There's a plane you could signal down if you put leaves on it, like leaves on your fire. Huh? Ah, like this. That's loud. It would start smoking, and it creates a lot of smoke, which would get their signal if you were lost in the woods. Yeah, so if you can't signal down the plane, that's okay, because once your fire's going, like I was saying, if you found like a dead squirrel or rabbit, that's great food. That dead mouse you can cook over the fire. You would just have to keep it there for a long time. Salmon berries, don't cook them because the berries. And yeah, also, if you were hiking and you happen to have a granola bar, you could ration that. Or if you were if you were going to make a fire while camping or hiking and you had like hot dogs with you, that's perfectly fine. That's great if you have food already. I added more leaves. There's a lot more smoke. You can just, if you saw a plane, you would just basically keep adding leaves, and it creates a lot of smoke. And then they'd see that smoke and come to where you are. I was